Hello, this is Nesta Tilson here. This is a short video to show how to use the project mode to draw floors and walls. Here we have a simple project set up with Polyboard. We've set up a floor slab and we've set up some vertical walls, and in the walls we've added openings, doors and windows. Polyboard project mode will allow you to set up floors and walls and then add in different cabinets to start creating your project being made of the different cabinets that you're going to actually assemble into the working space. This is a quick overview of how to use the basic commands of the project mode to set up the floor and the walls. Note that in my following videos I'll show you how to use better the different tools that you have here to make life much easier setting up your projects. Here we are in Polyboard. To start a new project, we're going to go into File, New Project, or you can also just click on the New Project button. And Polyboard will set up the project window. On the project window, you have here on the left-hand side the models list, where you can import the models into the project. That is, models being cabinets either you've already built or models that are contained in another project. Importing models is very easy. You just click right in the window and use the menu to add a model. The add option in the menu, you can click there an existing project. Here we have a kitchen demo project which contains loads of cabinets, or you can include individual cabinets that you've saved to disk. And when I open the project that has been saved to disk, Polyboard will import all the models in the project. And here we have the list of models now ready to be placed in the project window. To place a model into the project window, we just click a model and drag it into the window, and it appears in the window. If we click on the 3D button up here, the 3D view button, we will have the model in the actual project window in 3D. We can continue adding different modules, and you'll note they will clip onto one another, just sliding and dragging them, and each time a module is added we will see it in the 3D project window. Note that on the left hand side as well we have the front view, which is every time we click on a model in the list, we have it front view of the model here, and we can actually see what we're actually doing and clip it into its place. So the first use of the project mode is to actually assemble individual cabinets and make up a project. The second use of the project mode is to be able to present your cabinets in a 3D environment. For that, in the project mode, we have the possibility of drawing floors and walls. These floors and walls are in fact what we call in Polyboard just surfaces, so either horizontal surfaces or vertical surfaces. So how do we set up floors and walls? Well, let's just draw a floor to start with. Let's go into the project mode window in the middle here, and if I click right with my mouse I can add a new floor. The floor can either be a floor of any shape. Note that floors are horizontal surfaces, so they can also be ceilings, or it can be a rectangular floor in which I just give a certain dimension and it will draw a rectangle. Let's start with a rectangular floor. I click a rectangular floor, and here we have the add surface dialog box where we can add a width, give a height and a width to our floor, an angle, and we can also give an origin point for a coordinate system. We can choose the origin of our coordinate system, whether it be on one of the corners of our rectangle or middle of one of the sides. I don't suggest you pay too much attention to the coordinate system, because we'll be seeing in future videos how to bypass using coordinates to set up projects. But just click on OK for the time being, and Polyboard will then open up a surface edit window. This surface edit window will allow us to draw surfaces, either horizontal or vertical surfaces. The actual surface that it presents when I open up with a rectangular floor is a rectangle of the sizes that I've given in the dialog box. If I click on one of the points of my rectangle, I will see that here in the upper left hand corner, Polyboard will give the actual coordinates of this particular point. You can see that the coordinates of each point of our rectangle are displayed in our coordinate system up here. If we want to add a point, change the shape of this surface in Polyboard, we just have to go to the particular line that we want to modify, click twice, and Polyboard will add a point in the middle. And if I click on this point, I can then drag it and change the shape of my surface. If I go to the same point and I click twice, I will erase that point and it will go back to being a rectangle here. We can see that this rectangle is actually the active rectangle, the active surface, and on the right hand side we can see the properties of this surface. We also have a little 3D visualization window here at the bottom, and I can drag my mouse and change my view onto the surface. We can see that the properties of the surface are, we have a thickness, 20 millimeters, position of the surface relative to a 0 point, a 0 level, and the elevation relative to that particular 0. So we can use this surface as a floor if we leave its elevation at 0, or we can raise it up and use it as a ceiling. If we give it, for instance, a 2.50 m height, the actual surface will be at 2.50 m. We have 3D parameters here as well, so we can give it a color, we can give it a transparency, and we can give it a texture. We can apply a texture to it. Applying a texture to a floor enables us to give it a specific type of texture, which is a texture being just a JPEG file which we can apply to the surface. If I take marble floor, for instance, and I open, and if I click here OK, and now go back into our Project 3D mode, and we can see that the texture, the JPEG texture, has been applied to the surface. Doesn't look fantastic, that marble floor. Let's change it to something else. I click it, and without even going into the project, the surface edit, I can change here these properties. And let's put in another type of texture. Let's take a texture which has something a bit different. Let's take some, for instance, some floorboarding. And let's apply this floorboarding at 500 millimeters, and let's see what this looks like. And here we have a floorboarding texture onto our surface. Okay, let's go back now into our project window, not our 3D window, and let's say that we want to add some walls. To add some walls, we just click right again with the mouse, and we choose in the mouse menu Add New Wall. For adding a new wall, this wall, we're just going to draw it quickly. We have there are other ways of drawing the wall than what I'm going to show you now, but these are the basic commands. The basic commands we can use here are grid. We can apply grid spacing, adjusting the grid spacing, and we can say align our mouse clicks to the grid. This will enable us to just quickly add points without having to be bothered too much about precise dimensions for the time being. To add a wall, we just click points around, and it'd be exactly like drawing the polygon, the floor surfaces, that is. And as we draw, we can see that there is a little shaded area that will appear on one side of the line. This shaded area, as we are drawing, represents the wall, and its properties are in the right hand side properties window. The thickness is by default the same thickness as we're given the floor, which is 20 mil, but let's say that we don't want 20 mil, but we want 100 millimeter wall. I just change the thickness here, and we can see that the shaded area now becomes much thicker. And we can see that it's being drawn, the shaded area, the wall itself, is being drawn on the left hand side of the line that I'm actually drawing. So we can position the position is given by the position parameter, which is here. It can be on the outer side, which is on the left hand side as we're drawing, or the inner. If I choose inner position, the wall is actually being drawn on the right hand side of where I'm drawing. And it can also be centered. You can see here that the wall is now centered around the line that I'm drawing. In general, you're going to be using either outer or inner position. It's very, very rare that you're going to be using centered position, although it can happen. This has an elevation as well, so it's a distance that's raised above the 0 level, and the height, which is the total height of the wall. Here we have 2.50 meters. Let's leave it at the time being like that, and let's just click around our different points and see how this wall is going to appear. If I look into our 3D window and I drag the mouse, I can see the wall that's being drawn here. We can also change the different parameters of the wall here, 3D parameters, which are color, transparency, and textures, the same way as we were doing for the floor. If we got textures here, we could actually get rid of maybe the texture file and not put a texture onto it, and say that, for instance, this wall is in fact, if we just rub out the texture file here, and then the wall, give it a color and choose a color. Okay, and now if I click on the OK button, we can see the wall has appeared in the plan, and in the Project 3D window we're actually drawing the wall. Note that if I click on the wall twice, I will enter into the surface edit mode, and I can re-edit points exactly the same way as for the horizontal surfaces. These points can now be repositioned. I can use coordinate systems if necessary, and we can line them up to the grid. Hang on, I'm clicking 2 points here, and we can line them up to the grid. And create our wall. In the project window, we have the possibility of changing the view of the project window too by simply clicking right with the mouse and selecting view angle from the menu. We can drag the view around, click OK, and in the project window will now display an isometric view of our walls and our floors. While in the isometric view of our project, it's possible to add our cabinets from the models list. If we go into the models list here, I can take any cabinet, for instance the base corner cabinet, and I can drag it directly onto our isometric view. Here we have to be careful. You can see that the cabinet will automatically be clipped into different corners by elastic lines, and as it will snap into lots of different corners, you have to be careful on which corner you're going to actually snap it into. Here we're going to snap it onto the face of the wall, so that in the project mode we can see the cabinet fits nicely into the corner of our wall. We can continue adding different cabinets here. Let's take a simple base cabinet with 2 doors, and I can clip that neatly onto the end of the other cabinet. And we can go on building our project like this, adding different cabinets from our models library. Right, I hope that this little video has been interesting to you, and we will be going more into depth on how to use the project mode commands in other videos in these training sessions. So don't forget to look at our website for the complete series of video training. Thank you very much, and be seeing you soon. Goodbye.